Oh, and spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes. I'll talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about The Walking Dead, the 2010 to 2022 TV series based on the long-running graphic novel series by Robert Kirkman. So by now, there's been about 1,000,001 Walking Dead spin-offs, but for this, I want to stick to the main series, because otherwise, this video would end up being 5 hours long, and Daryl still wouldn't have taken a bath. Oh, apparently Daryl does eventually take a bath. Well, I'll be a son of a gun. Anyway, so here's the thing, I've spent the last maybe year and a half-ish rewatching The Walking Dead up to season 7, and then the remaining seasons watching those for the first time. And I got some thoughts I want to share, some good, some bad, some, well, we'll see. But if I may, let me start off with a brief personal history with The Walking Dead. So I originally watched up to season 7 in the olden days. Back then, the show would get passed around on different streaming platforms like a hooker with herpes. I think I watched season 1 and 2 on Amazon, but I guess they lost the rights, and then I think Netflix had it for a while, then not no more. After bouncing around different services, I eventually got up to season 7, and then nobody seemed to have anything after that, unless you were willing to pay some dumb price, which I was not. Years go by and The Walking Dead hasn't been on my mind as much, but I do remember hearing some online chitter chatter about how The Walking Dead just went super downhill. So part of me was wondering, did I inadvertently stop at the right time? And then when I saw Disney Plus had all 11 seasons available, I figured, well, guess it's time to find out for myself. So short answer, no, I didn't inadvertently stop at the right time with season 7. Longer answer, I probably should have stopped after season 8. Okay, that's a little bit disingenuous because I do actually believe The Walking Dead is worth watching all the way through. Just be prepared to roll your eyes so far back you could count how many brain cells you're losing by the hour. Alright, so the big thing with The Walking Dead is, and I know I'm not the first to say this, but Shane was right. Shane was an arsehole, but he kept the group together before Rick showed up. He even took care of Ed, and he didn't have to do that. He could have just stayed out of their business. He was right about Randall, he was right about Sophia, and the fact that Rick becomes more like Shane in later seasons is kind of a piss take, but it also shows that Shane was right all along. Shane understood the world they now live in way before anyone else. However, there was one thing Shane was dead wrong on, and that was getting it on with Laurie. Now, I ain't mad that they thought Rick was dead, even though, I mean, come on Shane, you must have known there was at least a possibility he wasn't. But whatever, they thought he was dead, fine. It just really wasn't that long before they started tomb raiding, right? I mean, they don't state specifically how long between thinking Rick died and Shane clearing out Laurie's cobwebs, but it seems like it can't be more than a few weeks, maybe a month at the most. So, your best friend of many years dies, and within a month you're banging his widow?
Ugh. Brother, ugh.
Nah, I don't believe that relationship was new. Carl might need to get a DNA test. Well, if Carl survived. I mean, no point now, I suppose. And Laurie ain't innocent either. The way she just cut off Shane as soon as Rick showed up, like, thanks for mowing my lawn, you can piss off now. It's basically her fault Shane went crazy and tried to kill Rick, cause she's a bitch. Anyway, you probably know all that already, so let's take a moment to honor Jacqui. Oh, who's Jacqui, I assume you're asking? Well, yeah, exactly. Jacqui was a member of the Atlanta group that Shane was taking care of, and although she appears throughout the first season, Jacqui doesn't really play a big role until season 1, episode 6. The group go to the CDC hoping they have a cure. Turns out the CDC tried, failed, and then Dr. Jenner decided to go down with the ship when the CDC blew up, and Jacqui decides to stay with him. Why? I mean, I know why. Because all things are hopeless. But come on, auntie, it's only been a few months. Why are you so quick to end your life next to some bozo you met like yesterday? It don't make no sense. Matter of fact, Dr. Jenner's staying made no sense either. It's only been a few months. Why are you giving up so quickly? Cures and vaccines can take years to make. You've barely done anything after only a few months. In fact, didn't Dr. Jenner say that everybody at the CDC ran away at the start and he only stayed because he made a promise to his wife? That means they didn't even really try to make a cure at all. They literally gave up as soon as it happened. So pretty much every death that happens in the entire Walking Dead run is basically the CDC's fault. world. But the biggest piss take was when Andrea also decided to stay and blow up with the CDC, and then Del was all like, "No, Andrea, you can't stay. If you stay, I'll stay with you," and basically guilt trips Andrea into running out the CDC with him right before it explodes. Okay, but what about Jacqui? Huh? Why is nobody trying to save Jacqui? Nah, if I was Jacqui, I'd be mad. You just spent the last few months with these guys and not one of them fought to try and save you? Like you never met nine to them? Man, if Jacqui don't walk out of there and start a new group, okay, let me be fair. T-Dog said, "That's insane," and Del gave her a "please don't stay here" look. So I guess they technically tried, but they didn't try hard enough, and they clearly had plenty of time because Del spent the next 2 or 3 minutes convincing Andrea to come with him, but for Jacqui, all you do is give her a look? Nah, Jacqui deserved better. Anyway, let me jump forward a few seasons and talk about the leather jacket wearing, baseball bat wielding man in the room. Negan. Negan was a bad guy, and I mean a bad guy. You see, a lot of times with shows and movies, you have villains that are a bit more complex, or they have relatable and understandable motivations, and that's fine, that's all well and good, but sometimes you just need a bad guy that does bad things for no other reason than he's a bad guy. And that was Negan, right up until they turned him into a bitch. Okay, that was a bit harsh, but they definitely diminished his character in later seasons. I mean, this is a guy who forced women to marry him, terrorized and practically enslaved other communities, tortured his own people, beat a man to death in front of his pregnant wife. Granted, he didn't know Maggie was Glenn's pregnant wife at the time of said beating, but still, he beat a man to death in front of his friends. Matter of fact, he beat 2 men to death in front of their friends. Abraham was a prick though. I don't care what nobody says. Abraham was a prick. That might be an unpopular opinion, but the way he just dumped Rosita for Sasha? No, ella no merecía eso. I mean, look, I understand you can't always help who you fall for and when you fall for them, but man was unnecessarily rude. Like, bruh, you could have let her down gently. Rosita deserved better. Anyway, back to Negan. He also tortured Daryl, killed that arsehole guy that nobody cared about. Negan did so much to them over 2 seasons, so please, help me understand. Why are you telling me his backstory? Why? Do you want me to feel sorry for him? Oh, he was just a man trying to save his dying wife. So? Is that supposed to explain why he turned into the bandits from 7 Samurai? That was a pretty old reference, by the way, but if you got it, big up to you. Oh, and remember to do your stretches, cause you know your joints ain't what they used to be. We ain't Katsushiro no more. We more like Kanbei now. And also, you can see the little inklings of Negan getting bitchified in season 8 when he gets mad at Simon for killing all the scavengers. By the way, what happened to Jadis' speech?
Shot you, grazed me. Cry back after.
She's talking all broken English or whatever, then all of a sudden she's talking like everybody else.
I like doing it. Feels intimate. Like I'm one of you.
Kofi Kingston would be proud. Anyway, back to Negan. Why is Negan getting mad at Simon for doing what Negan should have been doing in the first place? The scavengers were playing both sides of the war, so they all gotta go. Not one of them, not 2 of them. All of them needed to get done. Otherwise, you're constantly looking over your shoulder wondering if they're gonna double cross you again. Simon was right. He was an arsehole and definitely needs some anger management classes, but end of the day, Simon was right. Now, when we get to the part where Rick slashes Negan's throat, personally, I feel like it would have made more sense to let him die and end the whole thing there, but they didn't. They kept going, and to be honest, I did like the remaining seasons. They had some great stories and some great characters. In fact, Alpha was definitely my personal favorite villain. Like, bruh, she was cold. However, the problem for me is that everything after season 8 felt like it should have been a spin-off where they could have given some of the new characters like Alpha, Beta, Princess, and Mercer more room to develop. And yes, I understand that some of these characters and events appear in the comic line it's based on, but that's also why I believe that just because you base it on a thing, don't mean you have to do all the things that thing did. Comics have the benefits of characters that don't age, or more specifically, age according to how the author deems fit. And they don't have to write around actors that leave to spend more time with their family. But anyway, back to Negan. Sorta. So Rick lets Negan live. Fine, but why is Laura all of a sudden one of the good guys now? Laura was pretty high up in the Savior's ranks and was very loyal to Negan throughout. Matter of fact, Laura knew Negan pretty much from the beginning of the outbreak. Matter of fact, it was Laura that gave Negan the baseball bat that would later be known as Lucille. But as soon as Negan's defeated, she's a good guy now. No questions asked, no trust issues, no nothing. She's a good guy now. Now remember when the Oceansiders were killing off some of the remaining Saviors because of what they did to their community? First of all, they did the right thing. I mean, just because Rick wants to honor Shane's son's last wish, don't mean they got to. And B, why didn't they kill Laura? You're telling me Laura could be rolling with Negan for the longest time, be that high up and trusted in his organization, but had nothing to do with killing all the Oceansider mandem? Really? You're taking a piss, I swear down. Alright, let me move on and talk about the Reapers now. So Maggie comes back in season 10 and says her new home got robbed and raided by the Reapers. This is season 10. We're what, 10 or so years after the outbreak? Right? So why are the Reapers still stealing supplies? I mean, at this point, if you haven't figured out how to grow food, how to farm animals, how to manufacture resources, you're a waste man. It's been over 10 years. You haven't figured out how to plant a seed and water it? You're a waste man. These guys are mercenaries, ex-military types. Surely basic survival is part of their training, and they can't even do that? You're a waste man. Literally nobody should be stealing at this point. Pretty much everything that could be taken has already been picked clean, plus the Savior stole everything else. It doesn't seem to me to be a feasible option to be still relying on stealing from others to survive this late into the apocalypse. You're a waste man. And one more thing. When Rick disappeared and everyone's all up in arms about it, Michonne eventually abandons her children to go look for him, but at no point did anybody bring up the fact that Jadis is missing too. And especially considering Jadis tried to take Gabriel earlier, you'd think he'd say something. I mean, at this point, we're way past Gabriel being a two-faced, sniveling little hypocrite. He should have said something. And to be fair, all things considered, they probably wouldn't have connected Jadis to Rick, but Gabriel still should have said something. But anyway, let me end this on a positive. I already mentioned Alpha was my favorite villain. Her level of deranged cruelty was unmatched. Like when she infiltrated the fair and then beheaded all those people and then left their heads on spikes and told the rest of them, yeah, don't cross that line. Like, yo! And then she had a soft spot for her daughter, but that was a mad, twisted, and very complicated relationship. I liked what they did with Beta as well, being loyal to Alpha even in death, which emphasized the deep mental hold Alpha had on him. And even just generally throughout the whole run of the show, there were many delightfully brutal scenes. One of the more standout parts for me was when they went to Terminus thinking it was a safe haven, but it turns out they were cannibals. And that scene where they had everyone kneeling in a row and then executed them one by one, that must be the only instance where it's good to be last in line at a gangbang. But that's what I think of The Walking Dead. What did you think of The Walking Dead? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.